WWE made further in-house releases this week. Has the reason Keith Lee was released been revealed? And we have an update on an injured NXT star. We'll get to it in just a bit. Now, as you are aware by now, WWE released 18 members of their roster just this past week, but Fightful are now reporting that WWE have also issued further releases. This time, it's salaried in-house staff, so, the people in Titan Towers. They said that when they learned of this information, they were told that it wasn't an effort to reduce staff numbers, as these staff are going to be replaced and people are going to be promoted and other people are going to be hired to come in and take over the roles. So do you want to take the first name there, Mitch?
Yes, so the first name that Fightful are reporting has been released is Laura Petrocelli, who was WWE's Vice President of Branding. She worked directly with the WWE Chief Brand Officer, who is Stephanie McMahon, incidentally. It's noted in the report Laura dealt with a £13 million annual budget and had been with WWE for over 9 years.
Next, we have John Stamatis. Stamatis served as the SVP, the Senior Vice President of Global Marketing and Sales Strategy at WWE over 4 years. Prior to that, he'd worked in the marketing departments for NBA, Pepsi, and various other companies, and he's been doing this sort of role for years across his sector of the industry. He's been involved in this kind of stuff for 20 years. Nearly 30 years. So, this is a long tenured individual here.
Yeah, speaking of experience releases, Laura Todd has also been moved on by WWE. She was the Vice President of Partnership Marketing and has been in the role for 14 years, starting it in October 2007. Prior to that, she was with Sports Illustrated.
And the final name we have here is Mike Giaccio, and WWE fans might actually recognize him because apparently he won the 24/7 title in 2019 before losing it to R-Truth. He'd been in the company as the Talent and Sales Global Partnerships Department and worked with the WWE for over 8 years. But there was one more name that was kind of reported on separately, and WWE addressed it publicly themselves with a press release, and that is Christina Salen. She was WWE's Chief Financial Officer, the CFO. WWE, as I said, they released a statement themselves just saying that she departed her role. She only joined WWE in the role in August of 2020, but the promotion confirmed that she's leaving both her position and the company as a whole. WWE Board of Directors member Frank A. Riddick III will be taking over the position under the job title Chief Financial Officer and Chief Administrative Officer. Riddick III previously served as the interim CFO in 2020 and will report directly to Vince himself. Riddick himself made a statement on it saying, "I've had the great fortune of working with Vince McMahon and the talented people at WWE for over a decade, and it's an honor to join them on a full-time basis." Vince McMahon said that he'd like to thank Christina for her contributions to WWE, and he wishes her well in her future pursuits. But then there's been even more contrasting stuff coming off the back of this, hasn't there, Mitch?
There was a further report after this press release came out from WWE on just another bit of news on a manic day of news from the promotion. Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics reported that he'd heard several months ago from several people from within the company that Salem wasn't particularly well liked. This was again noted to him on Thursday and was told she is contributing to employees in the finance department choosing to leave WWE. So, per Thurston's report, Salem isn't going to be a name that's particularly missed by certain people in Titan Towers.
Well, we're going to find out how things are going to shape up in, I guess, the months and weeks to come. It feels like Nick Khan is still very much in his restructuring phase of rebuilding WWE. And as they said, there are going to be more people brought into the company and other people promoted from within. So we might see some more names move around, but... Yeah,
the Salem news is particularly interesting because if my timeline's right in my head, her and Khan would have come into the company at very similar times.
Right.
In that sort of time period. So, and what 14 months on from that period, clearly Khan has decided that side of the business, the marketing and finance side, needs a rejig again.
Well, one thing that has been very, very confusing about these WWE releases, I think the one name that stood out more than any other for me was Keith Lee. I thought Keith Lee was a lock to be a megastar for WWE. I thought they were going to strap the rocket to him. I thought that he was going to, just run that company for the longest possible time. But there we go, he gets cut, and there's been a bit of an update on this coming from Wade Keller on his daily report, and he said that he was told that Keith Lee had perceived attitude issues backstage. He didn't like the idea of doing jobs while in NXT as well, apparently, and often complained. This is coming from people in WWE, so take it for what it's worth. Now,
it's very Bray Wyatt, isn't it? There's issues with Bray Wyatt backstage.
It's quite odd how all of these released people are only now we're finding out they have very bad attitudes and stuff. But we worked with Keith Lee in another life very briefly. He worked a couple of shows for the promotion we were working for, and he seemed like the nicest guy. I don't know if it's, creatively difficult, that kind of thing. If maybe that's the attitude issue, is like, no, I feel I should be doing this, and coming up with different things, as we saw with Bray. It could be that kind of thing, but I wouldn't bank on, the amount that we hear about bad attitudes being a certainty, like an actuality. It does just feel that this is something that, in the weirdest, most tinfoil hat way possible, but here we go. It's something that could be leaked by a company in order to, it makes the person who's been released look like an unattractive prospect for any potential landing spot that they could end up at. So
you think of the two names that this has really been attributed to is Keith Lee and Bray Wyatt in the past couple of weeks. And if you were going to pick two names of the 71 names released this year that you would expect to have a massive impact in another company, they would probably be your two. So if bad attitude means was a little bit more vocal about the bad ideas,
has too many ideas,
then I think probably other companies probably appreciate that.
I've got a feeling, there may be more to this that we'll hear coming out slowly as, the released talents start doing the media rounds. But I don't know. We're going to hold off on judgment for now. But that was just an interesting tidbit we thought we should maybe just touch upon, because we've been trying to stay on top of all of the latest news around the releases.
Take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, definitely. Big old pinch of salt. Now we have an update on Zoey Stark's injury. Her status is kind of unclear, or was unclear until now, but it was reported Wednesday that she'd been sidelined with an injury. Now, on Tuesday's NXT 2.0 episode, there was a backstage segment where Gigi Dolan and JC Jane attacked her, which essentially, writes her off TV for however long they need her to be off, but she was holding her knee after the attack. But Meltzer is now reporting in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter that Stark is going to be undergoing knee surgery soon. So it's unclear how long she'll be out of action. It's unclear exactly what is wrong with her knee, but it's serious enough to require surgery. So, just sending all of our best wishes, and, just rest up, get well, come back. I'm fairly sure you're going to just slot right back in and everything will be fine. Just got to make sure you're healthy first and put yourself first every now and then, don't you?
Absolutely. Get better soon, Zoe. You've had a great year so far. We look forward to seeing you back.
And keeping it with NXT in a bit of lighter news right now, we have two NXT broadcasters getting engaged. So, huge congratulations to Vic Joseph and Mackenzie Mitchell, who announced their engagement online. Mackenzie shared the news on her social media on Friday. Vic Joseph is, of course, the play-by-play man for NXT, and he's held that role since Mauro Ranallo left the company in 2020. Vic Joseph was also previously the play-by-play broadcaster for Raw for a little bit, and 205 Live. So if you've watched any of those shows in the last couple of years, you'll know his voice at least. Mackenzie Mitchell is, of course, the backstage interviewer for NXT. She's filling in Kathy Kelly and Renee Young's shoes, and pretty big shoes to fill, but she's doing really well so far. But yeah, just congratulations to the both of you. It's rare at the moment, as I said, we get to report nice,
to get
happy
some good
things.
News.
Yeah.
Do you think Vic Joseph was having quiet words with Corey Graves off air on the After the Bell podcast? Because Corey Graves and Carmella getting engaged last week, and then Vic and Mackenzie this week. You beat me to it, you swine.
So that has been it for your weekend bumper triple news. That never happens on a Saturday, but here we are. There's plenty of news flying around this weekend. We hope we've covered all of it for you as best we possibly can. But it's goodbye from me. And yeah, Mitch, do you want to say bye to everybody?
No, not yet, of course I do. See you all soon.
No,
Check out Cultaholic.
never.
Check out cultaholic.com for breaking news throughout the weekend. And enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Catch you in a bit.